the Indiana Fever accomplished a statement win. What was the statement? Let's get into it. Before I talk about the specific statement in this win, let me just say that the Indiana Fever put on a clinic about how a basketball game should be played. If they had played that way, the way they played against the Lynx this last game, all through the season, they probably would have won the majority of every game. They played with precision. They played with effort. They communicated well. They were there to back each other up. They had transitional points. They were hot on the defense. Their offense was on point. And they didn't lose sight of their goal, which was not to lose that game. When you look at some of the plays, and if you want to, on my channel, go to some of the shorts and you'll see some of the plays and the highlights from this game. When you watch the highlights, when you watch the plays that were done, you can see their basketball IQ, how high it was during that game. That's the way it should have been all season long. And I'm not sure why it wasn't, except for just the being inundated with injuries, a lot going on, trying to incorporate new people. I get it. But now, if they play this way going into the playoffs starting on Sunday, that's when the playoffs start, they will accomplish more than what they thought they could accomplish in the playoffs. And they might just get to the finals. And as a Fever fan, I'm sure you too, you would love to see that happen, for sure. So the Indiana Fever, one of the statements, because they made a few, but one of the statements they made in this win is don't underestimate us. Do not underestimate the Fever. Do not underestimate the Indiana Fever whatsoever. Because when you think that they're down, when you think that they're out, when you think, oh, they must have having a hard time, all these injuries, this going on, that going on, when you think that they are down, they're going to rally, they're going to rise, and they're going to win. Now, before I talk about some other statements, let's get into the quarters. Now, the first quarter is where Indiana Fever established themselves. They established themselves, which should happen every single game. Every single team on every single game should establish their dominance early in the first quarter. It should be happening, without a doubt. That should be going on. And so the Lynx had 14 and the Fever had 28. That's dominance right there. That's saying we're here and we're not going anywhere, so get used to it. Second quarter, Lynx 22 and the Fever 21. So now the Lynx have said, okay, wait a minute, we gotta get back some of this that we've lost. We gotta put some points on the board. And they did. But still, the Indiana Fever were on their game. They were playing not to lose, and they were on their game. Okay. Now, some of y'all might have said, "Oh, I don't know. The Minnesota Lynx are making a comeback here. They got 22, and the Indiana Fever got 21." And it's like, even though it's like a small margin, like 1 point or whatever, it's still they might be making a run for it. Indiana Fever were like, mm-mm, don't think so. Third quarter, 17 Lynx, 21 Indiana. So the Indiana Fever are keeping it slow, keeping it steady. Okay, they're playing their own game. The Indiana Fever played at their own pace. They know when to speed it up. They know when to slow it down. They were playing at their own pace. They weren't playing at the pace of the Lynx. They just weren't. The Lynx just happened to be on the court, and they happened to be the team they were playing. But the Indiana Fever were playing their own game, their own pace, their own terms. Quarter number 4, 19 Minnesota, 13 Indiana. By this time, it's all over. The Fever were like, you know what? They won 83-72. It was a done deal. In every single quarter that the Fever played, okay, actually except for 2, they were dominant. And when they didn't lead, it was only by a few points. Because the fourth quarter, it was a done deal. It was already done. It was already in the bag. But they didn't play that way, but that's the way it was. And if the Indiana Fever continue to play like this in the playoffs, they're going to win. And they're going to get to the finals. Okay? Don't underestimate the Indiana Fever. Statement 2 is that the Indiana Fever is resilient. They're resilient. Let me add relentless. So again, you think they're down, they're not. They're going to bounce back, and they're going to be that much more a threat to their opponents. Relentless. That's the nature, that's the core of the Indiana Fever. If we don't know anything at all about them now, we know that they're resilient and relentless. And you cannot count them out. Ever. And they did all of this without major players, without Caitlin. Then they lost like 4 other players. This just goes to show it's the individual effort in the collective that gets the job done. And every one of those players on that team have talent, have skill. That can't be denied. And don't get me started talking about Kelsey Mitchell. Forget about it. Kelsey Mitchell, she should be in the MVP talks. You know, if you base just the most valuable player on the points, just the points they achieve in a game, that's cutting it too close. That's cutting it too short. I mean, I think that that's not the reason to vote somebody an MVP. There should be much more criteria about how they get along with their teammates, how they assist their teammates, how they are in the games functioning with their team, what they do outside the court. All of that should be taken into account when you vote for the MVP. We'll see. The Indiana Fever made a statement win against the Minnesota Lynx. In the Lynx, even in the post interview, Jess was talking about, hey, they played better ball than the Lynx did. Paraphrasing. They outplayed the Lynx because they underestimated them and they weren't ready. I wanted to come up close and personal with this part. The last statement that I want to say that the Indiana Fever made in the win of this game is this. They made a statement saying that you thought we were out because of injuries and whatever else. You thought that we didn't have it. You thought that we didn't have grit or aggressiveness. You thought that we couldn't beat you or win. Guess what? We can also win the playoffs. So be careful. They put every team that is in or contingent having their berth in the playoffs on notice that they could win it all. Minnesota Lynx, their top scorers were Jessica Shepard, 16 points. Okay. Alana Smith, 11 points. And Maria, 12 points. For the Indiana Fever, high scorers were Kelsey Mitchell, 18 points. Odyssey Sims, 15 points. Aaliyah Boston, 12 points. And I don't know if you guys noticed if when you saw the taping of the show or you saw the show that when Timpson came on the court, the whole stadium broke down and like began to give her a major welcome. They were clapping, they were calling out her name, they were excited that she was taking the court. That was wonderful to see. And that told also the coach that she needs to play more. Turnovers 12 for Lynx, 15 for Fever. Points conceded off turnovers 13 Minnesota, 12 for Fever. Fouls 15 for Minnesota Lynx, 12 for Indiana Fever. Largest lead 0 for Lynx. Largest lead 0 for Lynx. 24 for the Indiana Fever. Okay? And last night was their last game in the regular season. And the wins were 2 for Minnesota and 1 for the Fever. They played at the Gamebridge Fieldhouse, and the attendance was 15,012 people. And as of this recording, the Indiana Fever have moved up to the number 6 position. That's where they are right now. And so we have Minnesota Lynx, Las Vegas Aces, Atlanta Dream, Phoenix Mercury, New York Liberty, Indiana Fever, Golden State Valkyries, and then we have Seattle Storm as of this recording. So the Indiana Fever showed us what they could do. Now they just have to keep it going throughout the whole playoffs because it's starting fresh. It's like it's a new start. And the good news is Odyssey Sims, Shea Petty, Aerial Powers, they are getting familiar with the team. They're gelling with the team. And so they're going to be playing their best basketball, which is good. They've all been an asset to the team. Bree Hall has not played yet, but I'm sure she'll play in the playoffs. So let me know your thoughts about this win against the Minnesota Lynx. Let me know what you're thinking about how the Indiana Fever played in the game and the dominance and the intentionality of their play. They had a higher IQ that they tapped into in this game, and it was good to see. My name is Barbara, around the WNBA and other sports. If you haven't already, here's your time to subscribe. Also, give me a thumbs up because that helps, and tap the bell so that you can be reminded of new content when it arrives. All that said, go Fever. Go Fever. Until next time, peace and blessings.